Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so today we're painting butter. You sent me a bunch of still life images that you had on your phone,
I did.
and I really liked the mixed drink one, and I like the butter one.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be painting the butter. I'm doing mine 8x8 oil, and you
Nice. And
are
mine is 6x6 gouache.
gouache. Okay, cool.
Yeah, which is an opaque watercolor for people who are unfamiliar with that term.
Yep. I started off doing a lot of paintings in gouache.
I love it. I found it the first time I ever heard about it was in college in a typography class. And I was thinking that I was going to be going into what is it when you work on the computer in art? What's that called? Like graphic design. And what is that again? So I was thinking I was going to go into graphic design, and then I hated it so bad. But like the one good thing that I got from this typography class was like he had us do this thing in gouache, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And obviously like I was loving the medium so much that like I did not want to be working on a computer. So that was pretty telling.
Cool. I started using gouache when I got a whole bunch of it for next to nothing. And this is back when I couldn't actually afford anything.
Yeah.
So I just started using a mixture of gouache and acrylic gel for my paintings when I used to sell things out in New Orleans. And
oh, cool.
It worked.
Nice.
Yeah.
So were they acrylic gouache? Because there is acrylic. Oh, okay. I'm not a big fan of acrylic gouache. Is it okay if I move my board around while I paint, or should I keep it still?
It'd probably be better if you kept it still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I usually move it, but I don't have to.
Oh, okay.
Like I paint flat, which is weird. You obviously paint on an easel, and I paint flat on a desk, and then I paint on this. Like I tape my paper to this MDF board, and then I just kind of like slide it around as I go. But that can be a little dizzying probably for people watching. So I'll just try to keep it still.
I painted on my lap for years, so I know what you're saying, and this is something that I actually had to teach myself because I'm used to either painting flat or holding whatever I'm painting in one hand while I balance my palette and paint with the other hand.
You do a lot of plein air stuff, right? Is that right? No?
I try. The only thing is I don't really like it.
Oh, really?
Yes, and there's a general sentiment out there that if you're a landscape painter and if you don't enjoy plein air painting, there's something wrong with you. And
I don't think so.
I do enjoy painting landscapes. However, I don't really enjoy the heat or cold and the bugs.
Out in the elements.
And I normally drop my stuff too. And I'd say probably every fourth or fifth time I'm outside painting, I will drop my actual piece while I'm moving it around and transferring things.
No. And then it's mixed media at that point, because then you get grass and dirt in it. Right?
Indeed.
That I bet there's people who would love that.
Yeah, I mean, people like all sorts of strange things.
Right, it's true.
So, how long have you been? I'm sorry. I got notifications, and I'm not supposed to be getting notifications on my iPhone when I'm painting right now. However, it just popped up. I wonder if I did that wrong this time.
Are we going to be getting like we're going to be getting messages. Everybody's going to see your, will they see your messages?
No, they'll just hear an annoying bang.
Oh, a bing or something. Oh, well.
Yes. Well,
hopefully you're not too popular.
Please, depends on the day. Please do, if you're watching this, and if it's too much for you, send me an email and let me know how displeased you are, because that's another thing I really enjoy too.
Oh, that's just what you want.
Yes.
Do you get a lot of oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I mean, most of my questions. I was
just going to ask if you got a lot of mean emails.
I get some interesting ones.
Do you?
No, I mean, it's mostly people who want me to teach them things.
Yeah.
But don't want to actually take a class or a course, and then I tell them that I don't really teach.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll get a little perturbed.
Yeah.
And it's one of those kind of things.
Yeah, I get that. Or like, don't you have a magic bullet for making this really easy?
Yeah.
Come on, share.
I'm not that guy who peddles that stuff.
Yeah, neither am I. I do not have any magic bullets. It's just a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So how
long have you been at this for?
I was just going to ask you the same thing.
Are you running this? Are you running this PaintCast podcast interview, Kate, or am I?
I'm sorry. I can be a little bit like, I can try to take things over pretty easily, as you can tell. Hey, I think that's the mother in me.
If you need to take this thing over, feel free.
No, I don't. I don't need to. I promise. Okay. I am really good at like interrupting and talking over people, and yeah. So this is coming through loud and clear right now. But no, I will tell you how long I've been painting. I mean, clearly, most people who like art liked it as a child, which was my case. I always loved it as a kid, and then was thinking of going into elementary education as like out of high school for studying that in college, and then luckily had a course with a woman, a painter. It was just like a beginning art course, like, you know, a gen ed course in my first year of college, and she was wonderful, and she was like, you know, you should consider changing majors. And I was like, that was all it took, was like a little bit of praise, and I switched over to a fine art major and never looked back. Got my degree in painting and drawing, and it was, I tell everybody, it was kind of like, you know, going to summer camp or something. It was like, it did not feel like schoolwork. It was just so fun. I loved every minute of it. And I graduated in 2005, so some time ago.
Okay.
And then after that, I just showed like in a lot of oh, now I've got things binging too. Sorry about that. In farmers markets and showed in galleries, and was lucky enough to get picked up by this art publisher who made my work into like posters and stuff, and they've been on television shows and movies, and so that was kind of fun. So it's kind of, it's played its course in a lot of different ways. But what about you? How long have you been doing it?
Well, I have been doing the painting thing for about a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of taught myself. I took one or two foundation courses back in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
I went to the Latin Academy College, but I was a sculpture life drawing person.
Uh-huh.
So I was all about 3D, and I didn't want anything to do with painting.
Yeah.
And I thought it was actually pretty ridiculous. And so I did have one painting teacher say, "Do you really want to be a sculptor? You know, you could just switch your major. This is still your first year." And I was like, no, that's
You scoffed
probably
at that
the
idea.
worst idea. That's maybe the worst idea I've ever heard. I'm balls to the wall with this sculpture thing. And I did it for a while. I gave it like a good 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And I just got real burnt out.
Yeah. Did
And
you do?
when I stopped, it was just around 2008 when the housing bubble popped, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
all the jobs that I had were just
Mm-hmm.
suddenly gone. And
Yeah.
so that's when I decided to get on the road, and ultimately I started painting.
Cool. And when you were doing sculptural work, was it like what was the subject matter of it? Was it
It
abstract?
was
Was it
all figures and
representational?
portraits.
Oh, okay.
It was all representational, figurative portrait work.
Mm-hmm.
I did bronze stuff, and I worked for other sculptors to produce waxes and parts for their bronze
Oh,
pieces.
cool. I've
Um,
always wanted to do that. I've always thought that looked like a lot of fun.
yeah, it's a minimal amount of fun. It's a
Is
lot
it?
of
It's just a
work,
lot of hard
and
work.
yeah, I thought I was going to be paid a lot more, but it turned out,
Mm. Well, there's probably less
it
of a
was a little bit more of
market.
a struggle.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine it's harder to find a place for a sculptural piece. We've all got wall space, and we all know how to display paintings. It's just maybe a little bit more accessible or something. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think the reason was?
Yes. Well, I think the first reason is the price point.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the market for sculpture, you have larger spaces, and
Yeah.
you're probably budgeting more for the bronze,
Mm-hmm.
because it's intrinsically a lot more to produce a sculpture than it is a painting, even if you're using
Totally.
very expensive pigment. Um, and yeah, I think price point is the first thing. And
Yeah. So then you have fewer
second
customers.
is, yeah, another thing too is because it takes up space like furniture
Mm-hmm.
or a house plant or something else along those lines. Um, it's sometimes more of an architectural um, piece than it is a decorative or
Yeah.
kind of fine art piece. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of
you're
sense.
you're working with a lot of other considerations.
Mm-hmm. And there's probably fewer people who understand how to use that within their space too, I would imagine.
Probably. I mean, there are fewer and fewer people who understand most things.
Well, that's sad and true.
The more I think in general connected people get, the more uh, folks who feel as though being proficient
Mm-hmm.
is a good, important life skill,
Uh-huh.
uh, the less you see of that.
Yeah.
It's all just sort of winging it.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. So um, I, for years, was like a street artist have you ever been part of like outdoor shows or outdoor
I've done,
markets? Selling art?
yeah. So I did for quite a while when I was just first starting off. I did a farmer's market downtown in Salt Lake where I live. And
Okay.
yeah, it's got, you kind of get this great lively connection with people that, you know, you don't usually get in the art world, which is kind of nice. I always loved it. And I found the people who met me there were the most loyal customers. I still to this day will run into people sometimes who bought art from me, and they just remember you and are so kind. I had a really great experience with it.
Hmm.
Where did you did this in New Orleans?
New Orleans, yeah.
Nice.
I had a markedly different experience
Oh, interesting.
because most of these markets were during festivals where people were drinking, or they were at
Oh,
night when they just got out of shows and they were
uh-huh.
in bars and they're just kind of wandering around. So yeah,
Well, and they were
it's a little
probably
bit
mostly
different.
tourists too, I would imagine. Is was that the
Yes.
case? Yeah. So that
Um,
would be
yeah.
different.
So, well, tourists there want something to take with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's difficult to walk around and have all the stimulus and shop
Uh-huh.
for something at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, and they get pretty cranky, as well as the
Yeah.
people selling their own pieces. I know from personal experience that I was probably one of the most unpleasant people if you caught me on the wrong day.
Oh, yeah.
Not because I thought it was fun. It's just
Yeah.
I
Just
it didn't have any off switch.
uh-huh.
Like I would just run my mouth at people sometimes.
Oh, funny. Well, yeah, I did have a very different experience but you know, I can imagine exactly as you describe yours what that would be like, and it would definitely sounds like it would be frustrating. So, makes sense.
So, what other sorts of things do you do there in Salt Lake?
Well, geez, nothing at the moment because of COVID. We're all a little
Well,
bored.
yeah. I mean, are you part of that storm that's hitting Denver?
You
Is that
know,
is that going anywhere
I
near
heard
you?
that. Yeah, I heard it was supposed to be, but and so I was like expecting snow, and there's nothing. It's like teeny little bit of rain outside, but no, for now we're not seeing anything. And yeah, I'd heard there was supposed to be a crazy amount of snow, in like yeah, Colorado and um kind of nearby here too, but in the Uintas. But no, we're not getting anything at the moment. So maybe we're avoiding it. We'll see. But normally, um, the the weather and the environment here is just lovely. It's a beautiful place to live. We're really close to. I'm right next to the mountains. I can, 5 minutes, and I can be up a canyon, and we're also close to the desert. So I can drive for 40 minutes and kind of feel like I'm out in the middle of nowhere, which is really cool. Um, so it's a beautiful place to live. I grew up here, and I've not managed to escape yet, but I do love it. Um, and as far as like the arts community, there's a pretty lively arts community, surprisingly. A lot of theater, a lot of visual arts, and it's kind of, we call it Small Lake City instead of Salt Lake City, because everybody, you kind of, even though there's, a million or so people in the greater Salt Lake area, everybody, you kind of like are connected to everybody. If you meet somebody, you can find, some way in which you've got like mutual friends or people who know each other. So it's a fun place to live in that respect. Where are you currently?
Cool.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Because we do travel, so I get around to a lot of different places. I really enjoyed this one particular place in Ogden when we stayed in Utah when we went to the Salt Flats a few years back.
Oh yeah, the Salt Flats are crazy cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of out of this world.
We are currently in Texas.
Oh, nice. What part?
I am below Fort Worth.
Okay.
So...
I think Fort Worth is near where my son has a friend who is a dancer, and he's in the a ballet company near there, I think.
Really?
So that's cool. Yeah.
We experienced a few weeks ago the crazy Texas winter thing.
Yeah. How was that? How did you guys do with that? Did it affect you a lot?
Oh yeah. It was like everything froze. I was up. Like, I didn't really sleep because I had to keep going outside, and we have a puppy who kept on wanting to go outside and hang out in the snow at all hours.
For you. Mm-hmm.
And so then I would have to go out and check all the water connections, and our electricity was going on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And and then it was just a week of a lot of inconvenience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I know that a lot of other people had it a lot worse than we did, but if for RVers, it was definitely one of the most bizarre things I've experienced, because by the time we knew what was happening, we couldn't really go anywhere.
You were stuck because of the ice?
Yeah, because everything around us was icing up, and there were accidents on all the major roadways.
I can imagine.
It was odd, but it was actually safer to stay right where we were.
No, so I heard that. That's really
interesting.
Yeah, so interesting. And did you have enough supplies and stuff?
Yeah.
That's good.
We were visiting for our girls. They have friends who, before the pandemic and stuff, we used to sort of caravan with other families in certain areas in the country at certain times of the year. And so they have friends who were here, which is why we stopped by in the first place. And they were able to have fun with them despite the weather and everything.
How old are your girls?
My girls are 8 and 15.
Oh, fun.
And yeah, one of them we got on the road when she was 3, and the other one doesn't remember being in our house in New Orleans. It was so long. She's only really known like traveling.
Interesting.
So it will be interesting to see how that works out for her.
Yeah.
I mean, we think, my wife Becky and I think that it's a great way to see things and to interact, and she homeschools them, and
oh wow, that's a lot of work.
They have a lot of fun. And,
I bet
it's easier when you're around other people who are doing the same thing.
Yeah,
and who have done the same thing for a while.
And you guys were prepared in a way that other people weren't for this year. Everybody else was taken off guard with schooling, and you guys were already prepared for that. So that's lucky.
Yeah. COVID wasn't that much of a shock. It was disturbing to see, but it wasn't really kind of shattering by any means.
Yeah, it didn't shake your world like it did for everybody else.
No,
Yeah,
it
interesting. Didn't. Well, that's lucky.
So
My kids are all
how
grown,
many kids do you have?
so I've got 3.
Okay.
My oldest is 25, and so she was actually supposed to start graduate school in Seattle last fall, but she deferred for a year. So she'll be starting this fall instead, because she just figured it wasn't the greatest time to be moving to a new city and not even being able to experience it. So so she's deferred, and will be hopefully moving there this fall. And then I've got a son who's 21 who's looking to buy a house for the first time. That's what he's really into right now. He's a Finnish carpenter, so he does a lot of really cool woodwork and some kind of high-end houses in the area. And then my youngest is 18 and actually 19. And she is in school at the university here studying design. So she's thinking she might go into architecture like her older sister, but she's unsure at the moment. So anyway, they're great. Love them. They're awesome people.
Good.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of an awkward interview if you didn't feel that way.
Well, I mean, some people maybe don't like their kids. I don't know. I'm quite fond of them. I kind of miss them being little, but they're wonderful adults. So I thoroughly enjoy them all.
I do not miss my girls being very, very young. Because it is it's infinitely more complicated to have a very young child on the road.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Than it is to have someone who is at least old enough to tell you, that they have a sore throat.
Sure. So you guys have been traveling. You've been nomads, I guess. Is that what you call yourself, a nomad?
Yeah.
How long have you been?
This is our 13th year.
13. Wow.
It's been a lot of fun. It's pretty much the only way I could get away with trying to give this painting thing a go. If we were anywhere else doing anything else, I don't think I'd be able to, or I wouldn't have before been able to afford a hell of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And would have spent most of my time and energy trying to get out of wherever I was.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just live in, so what do you have, like a mobile home, or what do you live in?
We have a Class A coach. One of the buses with the pop-outs in the side.
Yeah,
and
totally.
So we tow our car behind it. We have a little tow car that we use, and we can tow it flat, so we just hook it up, and we roll all 50-something feet from place to place. And I like being in the West during the summer, especially around the Yellowstone area. And
beautiful.
It is helpful to be in South Florida in the winter around my in-laws for the weather and for the holidays.
Yeah, nice.
From Thanksgiving through New Year's. So that's what we've been doing recently.
So you find yourself kind of heading back to the same places during like each year, or have you explored like most of the United States?
We've been to a lot of different places. I'm going to say that we've only not been to, I think, 3 of the contiguous 48. And
Yeah.
then we were supposed to go one year to Alaska, but then that trip fell out, and we haven't bought the rig over to Hawaii yet. But we've been everywhere else
That's
at all different
amazing.
times of the year, and I definitely have all of my favorite places, at least before COVID, to paint in coffee
Yeah.
shops.
I think
And
you
I,
need
I,
to
I
like.
was really big into. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I was just wanting like I want a published list of those places where I can
Oh,
refer to it so I can go there. Do you have a list of all those favorite places?
no, but
Oh.
I will. I'll tell you the best Starbucks that used to be available to
Okay.
paint in all over the country, and
Okay.
I don't know if um, I don't know if I've mentioned this on another podcast or PaintCast that I've done, but I'm giving my current list. If I have these out of order on something else,
You're forgiven.
my most sincere apologies. Biggest fans. Okay, so I'm going to say that I really enjoy painting in the where I did in the Starbucks on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. It
Okay.
is right by a Ralph's, and I went there several times over the year, and that was a really cool place because you could see a lot of really interesting characters and people who were just dressed in amazing clothes, just coming in at like 6:30 in the
Uh-huh.
morning and ordering coffee. And it was, yeah, that place is really cool. I
Yeah.
also enjoy the Starbucks to paint in Jackson Hole in Wyoming.
Uh-huh.
And there's a place in Palm Springs. Um, there's a particular Starbucks that I used to enjoy painting in like the autumn when it was still incredibly warm there.
Uh-huh.
It was like maybe September, and it was still like 105 every day. But
Oh,
this
wow.
one particular Starbucks, um, I was able to uh, paint right by where they had the ultra high fan air conditioner that
Uh-huh.
blew in like a different passage before you get into the actual coffee shop itself. And I used to try
Uh-huh.
to sit there. And then most of my favorite places in New England were Dunkin' Donuts.
And do
Um,
people interact with you much while you're painting? Like, do they come watch or how does that work?
they some people sure do try. I had
Yeah.
I had one very enthusiastic lady in Henderson, um, Nevada, which
Uh-huh.
is like a subsect of Vegas area, and
I've
I was
definitely driven through there. I'm
yeah,
familiar.
I, I was there during Christmas one year, and
Uh-huh.
it must have been like the 22nd or the 23rd of December. It was like maybe 5:15 in the morning. They had just opened,
Uh-huh.
and a woman saw me painting, and she came over and she just started to show me photos of her work,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, okay, yep, I see what you're doing. It didn't really like I couldn't really say anything about it. It was these very large uh, abstract pieces that almost looked like they were partially brushed, partially splattered,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, but very. I was working on something that was maybe the size you're working on now, which is like
Yeah.
6 by 6, and she was showing me like a 5 foot by 5 foot, and then she started to ask me about color and color theory and what I thought, and I was just a little taken aback. And
Yeah.
at one point, I'm like, I don't really think this is the best place or time to really be discussing all this.
Yeah, and you're busy
And
working at the moment.
yeah, and if you had taken a photo of her face after 20 minutes of me politely looking at her photos after I was
Uh-huh.
yeah, I really need to get back to what I was doing. It looked like I had just run over her cat.
Oh yeah.
And
I can imagine.
yes, so I've had a few of those people.
Uh-huh.
A few people who like to give me like a clammy Florida hand,
Uh-huh.
kind of like that weird kind of touch on the shoulder from
Ooh.
behind you when you're
Ooh.
working in public. And
Yeah.
then there's some guy there like, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing, pal.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Oh. Well, your work is stunning. I would be surprised to see somebody in a Starbucks that's actually painting anything pretty. I think I would be like a little taken aback to come across you just out in the wild. Like, that would
Well,
be
that's
kind of
very kind.
exciting. No, I
Thank
love your
you. I
work.
mean, what I did was when I got out of New Orleans, when we finally left, and I really didn't have a business there anymore, I was
Uh-huh.
still sort of addicted to other people watching me work because
Uh-huh.
for years and years at night, I would sit out there and I would paint. People would watch me work and then
Right.
they'd buy some work. And I sort of equated working in public, I guess, in my mind to having some success and being able to
Sure. Well, you
sell.
probably were getting some validation during it. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I just kind of kept on doing that,
Yeah.
and I just happened to choose the two um, coffee franchises that were most prevalent around the country
Uh-huh.
uh, to focus on painting in there. And they were always really cool with me working in there too. It
Yeah,
was
I
never a
bet.
thing. And over the years, I've had a lot of people give me a lot of freebies. So that was also
Oh,
pretty cool.
nice, nice, nice. And they should have made you like their resident artist. Like they should have it seems like you should have gotten some sort of sponsorship or something with them, doesn't it?
Believe it
Did you
or
ever
not, Kate, I actually reached out to
I
Starbucks,
was going to say it. You should
um,
totally.
not once but twice, and I showed
Uh-huh.
them pieces that I painted inside the Starbucks
Uh-huh.
and plein air paintings of Starbucks in certain
Uh-huh.
locations. And I'm like, hey, I'm mobile. I'm on the road. If you want to work out some sort of deal,
Yeah.
I can paint your locations. And, for X, Y, and Z, you can have the original painting and you can sort of um, market it however you want. But I don't think they really were into the idea because
Oh,
I
it
never
could
got
have been
any
like a really cool like
correspondence back.
human interest piece. Like I love that. Have you reached out to any like newspapers or anything like that as you're passing through towns?
No, and now I'm way too busy to even have that on my radar.
Yeah.
I'm like, um, well, just for example, doing this is
Uh-huh.
like a mini vacation from everything else I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
Just to be able to paint something that's not a commission or not like one of the little oil studies. And I have so many plans for the hundreds of little pieces I want to do this year. I'm probably never going to get to all of them,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I get that.
when we travel, I take tons of photos. and so
Oh
does my
man,
wife Becky. And
I'm jealous. If you ever want to share those, I would totally
okay,
want some.
okay.
Or if you
Well,
ever want like to do something similar to this, where like we each pick a piece. I do not as many landscapes as I do still life, but I usually do, one a week.
yeah.
So I'm super
Uh,
jealous that you're out and about finding really cool subject matter.
um, somebody asked me, and I was going to make an Instagram post about it, but then got kind of trapped doing something else and forgot about it. But
Mm-hmm.
I had a question about that this one uh, person posed about style and subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
and they they and their friend were trying to sort of figure out what exactly I was and what I was doing
Uh-huh.
and where I fit in any kind of tradition, and
Uh-huh.
they wanted me to tell them, I
Huh.
guess, to settle some sort of bet, maybe.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of on the fly um, just sort of came up with that. I thought that it's possible that your aesthetic history is more informative to what you produce than,
Uh-huh.
say, adhering yourself to any style or something, you know?
Uh-huh.
Um, so then I sort of started to explain what I used to watch when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
Um, and, the kind of cartoons and the TV shows like Miami Vice and Magnum PI. And then I
Uh-huh.
was
Totally.
into D&D in the early 90s,
Uh-huh.
and I like some comic book stuff. So all those all those things that I really thought were interesting, I
Uh-huh.
think I subconsciously put aspects of those in my pieces
Oh,
without
interesting.
really having any mind to whether or not I'm following any particular tradition, like
Yeah.
some kind of impressionism or um, uh, other contemporary movement that may
You're a
or may not
result of
be properly named.
you're a result of your childhood television watching. I think we probably are that
Maybe.
in our generation. It's probably true. I kind of love this idea.
Well, because I mean, it's very hard for me to figure out what some of the like the daily painters like yourself,
Uh-huh.
and I just had Sari Shryak on,
Uh-huh.
Not Sorry Art on
Uh-huh.
Instagram,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I love
she
that.
is another one who paints like kind of old nostalgic still life objects,
Yeah.
and um, I I sort of look at the subject matter and placement, and to me, some of the things that I grew up with,
Uh-huh.
I can sort of see them in some of these daily paintings. I can
Yeah.
sort of see old commercials,
Yeah,
and
totally.
and in my mind's eye, the feeling of old candy commercials, and then
Uh-huh.
suddenly a person like yourself paints some candy, and then I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, it's a good painting, but it reminds me of something. So
Yeah.
I'm not really I don't really gravitate towards whether Kate Birch is like um, has any particular style. It's more like
Yeah.
what was she watching in the 70s and 80s?
I love it. I love it. I was watching, let's see, Little House on the Prairie, Punky Brewster.
Oh yeah, Punky.
Yeah, Punky Brewster. I was so into that. What else did I watch? Oh, this one's sad. The Cosby Show. Our ruined
You know,
childhoods.
hey, nobody knew.
Nobody knew. I know, but it's sad that I feel
Nobody
like
knew.
and now we can't watch it anymore. Let's see
Well,
what else.
I don't think. Well, I don't think that you can't necessarily appreciate the show in its time
For what it was at the time. I agree. I 100%
for
agree
what
with
it was
that.
at the time. I mean, you can
Yeah.
look at it with like the modern pair of eyes and knowing what we know, and then be like,
Yeah.
wow, that's kind of creepy. But
Yeah.
but back then, when we were much younger,
Yeah.
a lot of that was really groundbreaking. You know.
Yeah, it's true. I know. And this is the kind of thing where it's like, you know, all artists are human, and most humans, I mean, they don't have to do horrible things, but we all do some things that aren't ideal. And do you still do you still appreciate the art even if the artist has done things that are, maybe a little reprehensible? I don't know where I stand entirely on that, but I do think the art in and of itself is something detached from the artist, but I don't know. Where do you stand on that? I'm getting really deep here.
I think I tend to ignore so much of current events and what's going on that a lot of times someone will have to inform me after the fact of why someone was a dirtbag. And of course, like I always have my initial gut reactions to why I think some people might be a little loony or might be a little shady, but I don't really dwell on it. So a lot of times I'll hear about these things and I'll be a little shocked, not too surprised, and I don't. It doesn't really sit with me. Like I can't I can't mull over it.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Oh wow, you have a lot in there. I am not comfortable with illustrating the butter label.
Yeah.
I think I need to adjust my values. I don't think I'm going to get to it in the last 10 minutes that we're doing this either.
Yeah.
So
I'm just trying to real quick get this lettering in for just so it's, I don't know.
Well, it's okay. I mean, we don't have to finish while we're chatting here. It's just supposed to be like an hour long.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why I'm like, finish. I'm like cruising forward.
No, it's hard enough just to string two words together while you're painting.
I know it. We've done well. I feel like we've done really well.
Yeah. I think we have too.
Yeah.
I think it's a miracle that we're not just swirling around a pile of mush.
I know it. We're old pros at this. We must be.
I guess so. I would definitely have gotten a lot further if it was an image of a figure, or if it was figure in a landscape, or just a straight up landscape. Yep. I get a little retentive, and I slow down a bit when it comes to still life. This is what I actually started doing when I first started painting. I started doing just little touristy paintings of things like oysters and hot sauce bottles.
Yeah.
And I was so bad at it, Kate. I had to spend so much time to do one small piece because, I mean, even though I can draw, I feel like a proficient draftsman. I had a very difficult time translating any drawing ability whatsoever to mixing paint and putting it on, you know?
Yeah, it's different. Totally.
It is different. So I always get a little bit caught up.
Yeah, no, I get that. And, you know, we have things that like are easier to us. Like if you were doing one of your landscapes, I bet you would just crank that sucker out. Like I can imagine that you've just like those brush strokes are just kind of like they've just come out without you even thinking. Yeah, total muscle memory. Exactly. So you had mentioned, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask you how many pieces you average a week.
I just do one a day, and then also I work on commissions. So like I probably do like 8 or 9 a week.
Okay.
If it's a good week, I can get a couple commissions in, but it's usually just like one on the weekend, you know, and then just I have my daily paintings that I do every day. So so this is like painting number 2 for the day. And then I do have a commission that I need to get finished up this weekend. So I'll probably work on that tomorrow, but
all right.
Yeah. How about you? You do one a day?
Average like 3 a day.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And well, it's not amazing if you were to see all of the results. I just keep on working. I also work on commissions, which I don't count towards my daily pieces. And yeah, some days it works out, some days it doesn't, but I try to produce at least 2 or 3 a day.
Oh, and good for you.
I've been at it for, I'd say, a solid 7 years like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And believe it or not, before that, I was even more. Because when I would make the little tiny pieces out at the market, I would average 20 of them a day.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing! Wow.
Yeah, but when you're charging $20 or $25 for a little painting, you have to do as many as you can.
Yeah, you have to be able to do that to make any money. But you know that you could, if you got like dropped down anywhere in the world, you could probably survive because you know how to just like make things that people want, and you can sit on a corner somewhere. If I dropped you down in London, you'd find a piece of cardboard and a pencil and you'd make people some art and you'd be fine, right?
Yes. It is one of those skill sets that I think people underestimate.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm trying to figure out why this looks so wonky. I think my horizon split there is a little off.
I like it a lot,
what
though.
The hell
it's really
pretty.
I like yours. What do you do with these when you're done for these the YouTube shows that you do?
Well, I put some of them up for sale. Others I'll
just
paint
gesso over.
Yeah, sometimes my mom will like something that I painted on one of these videos.
Oh, I love it.
I'll send it to her.
Mom gets first dibs.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, when I paint with a friend of mine in New Orleans who just started daily painting, Bonnie is her name. When we paint on these things together, when we do ours, I'll usually send her the one I did so she can learn from it, because she thinks she's going to learn something from it. I've tried to convince her that I'm not the best person to learn anything from, but I'll send her my version of whatever we painted together.
Nice. Well, I think that's great. Look, I'm done. I did it.
What? You did it.
I did it. I'm calling it good. and right on the nose too. Look, in an hour.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm impressed. I probably have another 25 minutes of redefining a few of these edges there, and I want to put in a few thick pieces of yellow.
Oh, that'll look nice.
Maybe alter this to a green, possibly.
Ooh,
something a little bit more greenish.
But will I get
that's what I have left to do.
Yeah, do I get to see a finished product? Will you send it to me?
Of course.
I would love
Tell everyone how they can find your work.
Okay, so on Instagram is probably the best place. I'm on there. My handle is KE Birch. And my name is Kate Jarvik Birch on there. I post a painting every day, and they're for sale. They're really accessible for people to be able to collect some original artwork. I also have a link to an Etsy shop that has prints if people want to just a little something. And then I'm on TikTok too, showing some progress videos, and it's just also KE Birch there as well. So that would be fun if people could come find me.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
it was great to finally meet you.
It was wonderful. I had so much fun with you. It was really great. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.